Whether you're a prepper or you're a homeless person who's thinking about getting on the road and becoming a traveler, you may be asking yourself, what are some things that you can do to kind of mitigate the potential obstacles and things that you may come across once the society has its full-on breakdown? Because right now, everything is together. And as it slowly falls apart at the seams, there are some things that you need to consider when traveling, whether you're bugging out as a prepper or you're on trail as a homeless person, just waiting for the world and the dust to settle and everything go proper, right? So let me talk about a farmer that I met last night. Last night we were doing a road walk and I came across the farmer and I said, hey, I could use a place to stay, me and my dog. And he was able to accommodate us, and then him and I sat back and had a conversation. Now, this 80-year-old farmer, looks like he's as able as a 50-year-old man, which was very impressive considering, the fact that he's 80 years old. And one of the things that we got to talk about was he said in '93, which was after the collapse of the Soviet Union, he went there to Russia. Actually, he went there to Moscow, and he was telling me that Moscow was actually in the best situation. But what really was going on there is that because the state was paying for everything and, kept everybody, housed and gave them universal basic income, the managers wouldn't show up, and because the managers wouldn't show up, the regular employees wouldn't show up. And then, because they got so much an hour or so much for doing a delivery, what they would do is stop on the side of the road, make deals, start selling some of that stuff, and then take the other part to the, the fuel to the gas station or whatever it may be. And so that was corruption was a big deal on why the Soviet Union fell apart. And I believe that corruption was probably a very, very big deal on why Rome fell apart. And it looks like it's going to be our demise as well, because no country is ever immune to that. We have gotten to a point where we tolerate corruption to a level that we actually aspire to be like those that are actually being the most destructive in our system. Okay, so let's just say that this whole thing comes crashing down and you decide that you want to travel. So how are you going to travel? This is going to be very tricky because being here on the American Discovery Trail, I've had the opportunity to sit back and really evaluate what a potential, grid down, not even grid down, just the decay of society to the point where it's no longer safe to be in any type of city, whether it be big city, small city, rural towns, regardless, it may be dangerous. And so it doesn't even have to be SHTF, it could be the prequel to it, because that's kind of what we're descending into. And we're not even talking about civil war or civil unrest or economic collapse or the loss of the dollar or anything else like that. And any of these things could lead you down that path to say, it's time to get on the road because staying static puts me more vulnerable than staying on the move. And now, some people will have the ability to stay static, but there will be some, especially in the poor class, that will definitely not be able to. And if you're in a city, you definitely won't be able to. And so there was a storm that came through a couple of weeks ago, and it came through Cincinnati, and it just ravaged all the way east to New York. Well, because the Trail Association, even though they get money from the feds, they get money from the state, they get money from the county, they get donations from trail hikers that want to see the trail maintained. And instead of actually going and repairing the damage after a big storm like you would see, let's say, on the Florida Trail, what you get instead is just a decaying trail, because nobody's using it because they're not maintaining it, even though they're collecting money for it. And so again, we talk about corruption. This could very possibly be what you would think of as, well, I'm just going to get on trail, but you forget that if something happens, the trail can get washed out. And I've seen the trail washed out for miles, trees falling down, tons and tons of trees. And there's been parts where I've gotten so far off trail that I've either had to go back quite a ways, or I had to just kind of maneuver myself to kind of use the forest roads to get back on trail. But what happens if I don't have that GPS and I'm looking for these trailblazers? The trailblazers aren't as visible as they should be. because like on the Florida Trail, it's every 500 feet. Because the thing is, you got to look down. You're looking for snakes. You're looking for obstacles that are in the ground, especially the root system. Those things will trip you up. Last thing you want to do is fall on your face. So you're looking down, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking up. Well, being able to follow in these trails is something that that you would normally be able to count on. But if it's not being maintained because of corruption within the system causing a full-on decay to the point where it's no longer recoverable, then what do you do? Well, that has forced me to take a road walk from probably about, well, we walked over the last 2 days. We've walked about 30 miles in total on a road walk, because we started to go into a section of the trail and it was blocked off by a gate. I wasn't going to throw Sam over a gate. We weren't going to go walk in that, because apparently the person, even though they had the easement for the trail, did not want to honor that. So therefore they blocked it and made an obstacle so that nobody would really be able to walk it. Because even if they put a gate there, there's usually like a something that's just wide enough for a hiker to make it through, but you can't make it through with anything else. And that wasn't even there, which is what forced us off trail. And then we just decided to stay off trail because earlier that day, the trail was so washed out that, again, I got lost way out in the woods. Okay, and so now I'm going through using Google Maps again, just kind of getting the lay of the land. And just by being able to look at a digital map, I was able to kind of figure my way around to where I was trying to go to begin with. I did not need the GPS or anything else like that, but I decided, you know what, it's there, it's available, I might as well follow it. I would have taken almost the same route, except for I probably would have gone a little bit further, east before I started heading north. And I'm going through certain areas where they're not used to seeing hikers or people walking through. And so I see this old man, he's a hillbilly, you know, it's not a derogative mark, it's just that is his culture, and I'm recognizing it. And you know, he sees me, I see him, and he just kind of stands there and watches and so on and so forth. And you know, I explained to him, hey, you know, I'm traveling, this is what the trail's washed out, we got pushed off, so we're just trying to make it up to Waverly. And so I let him know the direction we were going, and that way it would break down barriers. Because the thing is people aren't going to, unless they're so scared of their own shadow, people are going to at least give you a chance to give them a reason not to have to deal with confrontation. The average person doesn't really want to unless they have to, but you have those sickos out there that are looking for any and every reason, and that is what makes traveling so dangerous to you. Okay, so your job is not really like hoofing it, that's just kind of how you travel. But your job is going to be in breaking down those barriers and earning trust. And so with me having a sales background, if somebody doesn't buy something, it's because they didn't trust me. It has nothing to do with anything else other than they didn't trust me, because people buy from people that they like, know, and trust. They don't buy from people that they don't know. And there are certain parts of this country where it's really hard to be able to do sales unless you are really good at building trust and building community and networking. Okay, and so my job as a salesman was to build trust with you, and so therefore that's become a second nature to me, and it might be something that you might want to work on building up yourself. Okay. Not only that, you will have people that are kind, especially with having a dog. They're like, hey, does your dog need water? They bring out water for the dog. They bring out water for me. You know, and then they say, hey, you know, I told them where we were going, what was happening. They offered us a ride into town, saved us about 3 miles on our feet, and the lady dropped us off at a Little Caesar so we could sit back and have something to eat. Okay, so when you're looking at the potential or possibility of traveling, a lot of people are going to be a little worried, and they're going to watch you. Now, you do have the ability to just keep on going, and if you stay silent, you keep the mystery. That might be your persona. Hey, some dark person came through here, you know, wearing a top hat and just, you know, trench coat, decided to, you know, hoof it up the hill. Yeah, he looked whatever. Okay, and then that person will move on. Okay, and so you have these things that you really need to consider should you ever get into that situation or be forced to it for various reasons. We could talk about all the different reasons that you could do it. But anyways, guys, I hope that gave you food for thought. I would love to know your opinions on, one, how have you learned to build trust? Because you have to do it in your relationships, and a lot of you have jobs that allow you to communicate. So I'd like to know your tips, what it is that you could offer as far as tips for being able to build trust as you're walking through, because it's going to be a big part of your safety. And two, I would like to know what your plan is and what your threshold is. It's going to actually push you to the point where you have to get on the road and you can't take it anymore. But everything else is in the description. Subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next live stream, which is generally about 7 o'clock when I have signal on trail.